Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. That sounds so weird to say, but I guess I have to say it. I don't really like this. Maybe I'll just hold it. I don't want to hold it, but maybe I will just hold it. All right, welcome back. I know that I am a little late with getting a follow-up video out. I apologize. I was hospitalized. I had a small bowel obstruction that landed me in the hospital for 5 days. I didn't have to have surgery, thank God, but I was in the hospital for 5 days, ensuring that it resolved on its own. And because if it didn't, I would have had to have surgery. But luckily, it resolved on its own. And that was the worst experience. It wasn't the worst experience being hospitalized. Well, how do I want to put this? It was horrible. I'll say that. It was horrible. The hospital was great. My nurses were great. My doctors, the hospitalist, the surgeon, everyone who was following me, everyone was great. And they knew that I was a nurse. And they told me that I was one of the favorite patients on the floor, which was sweet. But that was the first time I'd been hospitalized. I had never been admitted to the hospital. All the surgeries that I've had in the past, they were outpatient, so I go home the same day, but having to be admitted to the hospital. Let me just give you a little bit of background about what was going on. So it was small bowel obstruction, so not related to what's been going on with my reproductive health, not really, but there was a small connection. So probably like 4 or 5 days leading up to when I was admitted, I had been having this abdominal pain, and this is different than what I had been having previously related to my fibroids and the adenomyosis and everything else. This pain was different, and it was usually coming after I would eat something, and I would just fall over. I would be in so much pain. The night before, I had pasta, and I couldn't even finish it. I was in so much pain. I was literally on my floor in the living room, balled over, and then it just subsided. So the next day, I'd gone to get my hair done, and I was there for most of the day. Was doing okay, packed some food, little snacks here and there I was eating. I got into the chair, was getting my hair styled and cut and all of that. And then the pain it started again. And I'm like, what is going on? And so I pushed through. I finished my appointment. I went to my car, and I've grown accustomed to doing these little videos after I get my hair done with just like a hair journey update or whatever. So I'll do a little video, show my new hair, and then post it in my stories on Instagram. And so I was determined to get my video out, and I did. And no one would ever know that I was in so much pain in those videos. So I posted those videos, then I called my mom, and I'm like, I am having so much pain. I think I need to go to the hospital. And I wanted to go to Torrance Memorial because I live in Torrance. All of my new providers are in Torrance. The gynecologist, oncologist who will be doing my potential hysterectomy, he's going to operate out of Torrance Memorial. So I was like, just go to Torrance Memorial. Go there. I was coming from Culver City, and it was about a little bit after 4, and I was on the 405 freeway, and it was starting to back up, and the pain was just getting so intense. I was like, I'm not going to make it. I need to go somewhere else. And so I got on my phone and I put in urgent care, and a Torrance Memorial urgent care popped up that was in El Segundo, and it's like 5 minutes away from where I was on the freeway. Knew I should have not done this. Being a nurse practitioner, that I need to take my ass to ER and not go to urgent care because of the type of pain that I was having. They're going to have to do imaging, a CT scan, and they don't have those capabilities at urgent care. So this is a tip. If you're ever having significant pain, go to the ER. I know you want to go to urgent care. The copayment is less. The wait may be less. Don't want to deal with having to sit up in the ER. But some things urgent cares are just not appropriate for. And I knew this, but I was like, maybe they can just like give me some pain medication, and then like I can go to the ER. That's what I was thinking, because that's how bad the pain was getting. Get to urgent care. No one's there. I'm seen immediately. The PA walks in the room, and by this time, I'm lying on the bed, balled over. And she was like, oh no, you're going to ER. I was like, I know, damn. So she listened to my abdomen, no bowel sounds heard or whatever. And my stomach was distended or whatever. And me, whenever I have pain, I'm always like, what quadrant is it in to kind of like self-diagnose or, at least get some like differentials out there, like what it could possibly be. So we were both thinking that it was my gallbladder. And I was like, okay, this is gallstones. And I never had an issue with my gallbladder. And I thought it was my gallbladder because of where the pain was located, but also because I had lost all of this weight several years ago. And sometimes with massive weight loss, you can have issues with your gallbladder. So she wanted to call an ambulance to take me to the hospital. I'm like, I'm not doing that. And I was like, I'm just going to go to Torrance Memorial. I was like, I think I can make it. And she was like, okay, like if it gets really bad, pull over and call 911. The good thing, though, about going to the Torrance Memorial Urgent Care is that they could call over to Torrance Memorial ER, have me placed on the board. So when I got there, I would be seen immediately. So that was the good thing. So that kind of did happen. You ended up getting there in like 25 minutes, took the back streets or whatever, got there, was seen relatively fast. And I don't know if this is a new thing, if they're doing it at most like hospitals, or if this is just a Torrance Memorial thing, but the ER doctors will come out to the waiting room to get you. Doctor who was assigned to me, he came out, he sat next to me. He was like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, by this time I have tears in my eyes. I'm like, I'm in so much pain. I don't know what's going on. He was like, we already know I'm going to need to do a CT, but let's get you some fluids. Let's get you some pain medication. So immediately, like nurse started an IV. They gave me morphine. After about 20 minutes, and also because I had to do a CT with contrast, so they gave me the contrast to drink immediately, but I had to wait 90 minutes after I finished the contrast. So that's why they were like, let's get her some pain medication fast because she's going to be here waiting to do this CT. After 20 minutes of that morphine, like, it was like I didn't do anything. I was like, this is not helping me. I'm still in a lot of pain. So they gave me another dose of morphine and then they hung IV Tylenol. And that helped significantly. And so I go and get my CT, come back 20 minutes later, the ER doctor comes in and he's like, honey, I'm sorry. He's like, it's a mechanical small bowel obstruction. It's like, you're going upstairs. I'm like, oh my God, I'm being admitted to the hospital. And again, I had never been admitted to the hospital. So this was new for me. But before I got to the floor, I had to have an NG tube put in because the way that they treat small bowel obstructions is that they try to do it conservatively. So you immediately, there's no food, no oral intake, not even ice chips, water, nothing. And they put an NG tube in to suction out, relieve all of the contents around the intestines and everything. They keep the suction going, and you have to stay in the hospital because you have to get that done. But then you're also not eating anything, so you have to be on IV fluids. And so I was admitted. I was there for several days. And finally, after like 4 days, they took me for a small bowel series to see if things would pass through or whatever. And sure enough, things were passed through. It looked like it had resolved itself. So then I was graduated from like NPO, nothing by mouth, clear liquids, to soft food. And then I was able to go home. So small bowel obstructions can be caused from hernia, which I have a hernia, but he was like, it's not your hernia that is in the way. It can be caused by tumors. It can be caused by scar tissue. And that is what they told me mine was likely caused from: scar tissue from my previous myomectomies, which were the surgeries I had to remove past fibroids that I had. So again, not necessarily related to what was going on, but kind of a connection because the scar tissue from my previous fibroids caused this. So I had a hospitalization. That's why I am just now getting back with a follow-up video that was totally unexpected. It was not fun at all. So yes, I have a potential surgery date for my hysterectomy, and I'm still up in the air, undecided on what it is that I want to do. I don't know. It's just so much that has been weighing on me. And while I was in the hospital, I had a lot of time to think. Just being hospitalized, number one, it was like, that was unexpected. And, having health challenges and the thought of having a child while you're going through health challenges and things like that was scary for me. It also made me think about my support system and trying to do this on my own as a single mother. And I know there are single mothers out there, women do it all the time, or single dads do it all the time. I understand that. I don't know how they do it because it seems really difficult, especially in this day and age, but they do it. But I was just thinking, and luckily for me, I have family. My parents are still here, thank God. I have family down here in Los Angeles. I have family in the Bay Area where my dad is. My sister and brother are up in Northern California. I have family. But then I was also thinking about like my tribe and my support system outside of my immediate family. And that has changed. And that's not the same. And not to say that having a baby, things are dependent on all of that, but I would take all of that into consideration. Who is your support system? Who's going to be there for you? Who can you turn to for advice? Or if you're just like having a hard time, to have my best friend, I have still very close friends, but some people who have been in my life, who've been a friend, those relationships, those connections are no longer really. And it's kind of sad in a sense, but it is what it is. It's not that I don't care. I just don't care as much as I probably would have cared several years ago. So that's why I haven't really addressed it. It is what it is. Like life goes on, right? So whatever. And I got shit going on. Like this is real life shit that I am dealing with, which I know everyone has things going on, right? But like this, have a hysterectomy possibly. All the things that I've been going through, having like this mass on my left ovary that they didn't know what was going on. Cancer marker is elevated, freaking me out. Everything that I shared in my last video, certain people that I thought would reach out to me didn't reach out to me. So that's how I know that things have changed, which is fine, but it is what it is. So, thinking about all of that while I was in the hospital, thinking about the financial implications of having a child as a single mom, the financial implications of doing IVF, that's not cheap. That's thousands upon thousands of dollars, and there's no guarantee. You know, Women who go through several rounds of IVF and they're not successful. I remember I worked with a nurse before I became an NP, when I worked at UCLA in case management on the weekends. There was a nurse who worked full time at the VA. She was like a manager over at the VA. She was in her like mid 40s. I got married later in life. She didn't have kids. Her husband didn't have kids. They wanted kids. So she took on this second per diem job at UCLA to help with her IVF. They wanted to have a cushion of $100,000. So like for over a year, she worked like 7 days a week. She worked her full-time job at the VA, and she worked on the weekends per diem, could save up $100,000 so they could do several rounds if needed. $100,000, you guys, like that's a lot of money. So thinking about that, thinking about high risk, having a baby older, you have to think about developmental things, and all of that. And it's just a lot. And a lot of people, several people that I've talked to about it, they have said, like, you owe it to yourself to give yourself this chance. And I agree with that. But I think that they're looking at it through a lens of, I'm just having a hysterectomy to have it, and I'm not. I would prefer not to ever have another surgery again. That's why I didn't want another myomectomy when I knew that my fibroids were coming back. I don't want to have another surgery. So I really don't want to have a hysterectomy, this type of like intense and invasive surgery. I don't want to have that, but I'm not having it just to like, you know, because I have a little bit of fibroids here and there, a little bit of a heavy period here and there. No, my periods are horrible. My quality of life is pretty bad because of the pain that I'm in, the chronic pain that I've been in, that now I realize has been the adenomyosis, which I didn't have a diagnosis of before. I have it now. And I'm like, and it's just gotten worse and worse, which is why I've been so diligent about getting this checked out, because my quality of life has changed significantly. So I'm not just having a hysterectomy because I have a fibroid, I have repeat fibroids. I'm having a hysterectomy because I have some real shit going on that's causing significant discomfort, and that has really impacted my quality of life over the last 8 months. And that's what I have to keep thinking about, because things have changed for me because I've been dealing with this. And it may not look like it because I am the queen of curating some shit. Like, I can make some things look like something. But the last 8 months have been very different for me. Some of it has to do with this job that I took that was very demanding, had me working very long days, 10-hour days that turned into 12-hour days, 4 days a week, sometimes 14-hour days with charting, and just very, very intense. So that wore me out, but also this has worn me out as well. And so I have to think about that. I had a follow up with my gynecologist, oncologist, the surgeon, and he knew that I was hospitalized because the GI surgeon, when I was in the hospital for my small bowel obstruction, he was like, if this doesn't resolve, we're going to have to go in and do surgery. And I told him that I had a pending hysterectomy scheduled. And he was like, "Who's your surgeon?" And I told him, and he was like, "Oh, I just saw him downstairs." He was like, "Let me talk to him because if we do have to do surgery, you're not going to be able to have this hysterectomy in such and such time. We could even maybe see about doing it together in the next week if needed." And I'm like, "I'm not there yet. I haven't even made a decision. Yeah, I have a surgery date, but I may not show up." Like, I would not show up. I just would cancel. But I'm still like not completely set. But when I talked to my surgeon, the gynecologist, he was like, "I heard you was over in Torrance Memorial causing trouble." And I was like, "Yes, but everything's better now." And then we talked about where I'm kind of at with kind of going back and forth. And he pulled up my imaging again, and he was like, "You know what, Miss Sullivan?" He was like, "Given that you do have likely a lot of scar tissue and you have two good size fibroids, but I don't think I would want to necessarily do another myomectomy right now." He's like, "If you want to do IVF or whatnot," he was like, "we're racing against time." He was like, "So you can go and have another opinion, but if you're not going to do the hysterectomy with me and you're going to try and do IVF," he was like, "I wouldn't do another surgery. It's like, I would just tell you to start IVF, start it now." And so, yeah, that was his recommendation. He also reminded me, he was like, "You're going to need a hysterectomy though, eventually." He's like, "If you want to get rid of this pain, these fibroids are probably just going to grow bigger and bigger. But also because of the adenomyosis," he's like, "the only way that we can get rid of it is to get rid of your uterus." And so I'm going to, have to face this eventually with a hysterectomy. That's the thing. So that's where I'm at. I'm leaning, honestly, though, towards having it. It's just still a lot to process. It's very emotional. I'm trying to start therapy because I need some assistance on trying to process all of this. But I will say this, I have been feeling like for the longest, maybe over the last year or so, that like a big shift or transformation that is going to be happening for me. And I couldn't really put my finger on it, but I just had that feeling that there's a transition, there's a transformation, there's a change that is needed and that is coming for me. And I think this is the beginning of it. I really do. I've just been having that feeling. And I feel like I'm on the precipice of like this big transformation. And I think that this is a sign of that. And I don't want to ignore that. Now, one could argue maybe this is the sign that you do IVF and you try and get pregnant. Yeah, but I don't think that's it. I think all of this happening, like now, I think that this is it. And this is a sign that even though this is going to be different for you and things are going to be different, your life, there's also something greater on the horizon. And I feel that this is bringing me to that, if that makes any sense. So I'm trying not to ignore all of that. So again, haven't made a decision, but that's where I'm at with it. I just want to come on and share an update. And yeah, I'm going to try and do another video soon, but that's where I'm at. So maybe my next video will be a story time. I don't know. But thank you all for watching. If anyone has had a hysterectomy out there, comment, let me know what your experience has been like. Do you regret it? I know several women who've had them. No one regrets it, not one. But let me know what your experience was and kind of your process with coming to that decision. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. Comment, like, subscribe, all those things, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.